And let's welcome on Lawrence Tynes here to the program. Hey. LT, how we doing?
I'm good. The Giants didn't play today, so we're in good shape.
They did not play, so you were not subjected to that horror show. I mean, what a disaster the Giants are this season.
It's not good. There's a lot of expectations, obviously, with some of the signings, but it just hasn't been good. I mean, obviously, Daniel Jones is not the guy. I've been a staunch supporter of his, but he is so wildly inconsistent from week to week. You just don't know what you're going to get. And I think the reality of it is if they can find a quarterback, which is easier said than done, then they have a good team. They've got a lot of really good players, right? I mean, from Dexter Lawrence to Neighbors to Tracy to some of the young draft picks they've had this year. But it's been a tough watch for the last decade.
Why were you high on Daniel Jones coming into the season?
I thought Neighbors would have really helped, and it felt like it did early, right? The Vikings game, which I was at in person for the top 100 deal, was a mess. But I kind of chalked that up to, maybe Daniel not playing in a while, obviously with the ACL. But I just thought, and then you see him in the Washington game. Obviously, Graham gets hurt, so that kind of derails the team. But I just thought he had some more weapons and obviously a pretty competent offensive line. And boy, was I wrong. It's like, boy, was I wrong. Because no Giants fan can say he doesn't do he does do things where you go, wow, he moves well. He's just been beat up. He is, Todd McShay nailed it 6 years ago. That clip's been playing on Twitter all week. He nailed it. He is a backup quarterback.
So do you think the Giants will stick with Dable and Shane if they don't win many more games? I mean, they're 2-8 now. If they move away from Daniel Jones, start playing Tommy DeVito or Drew Lock, it's not going to get much better. So let's just say this is a 4-13 team. I know that John Mara likes Dable and Shane, but will he have the stomach to bring those guys back?
I mean, I would like to. I really like that duo. I just think, look, their hands were tied, right? They go to the playoffs in year one. You have to re-sign him, right? Maybe you think, okay, we've got this guy taking the next step. You had to re-sign him. Everyone was up in arms about the contract. Everyone's up in arms about every quarterback contract every year, but you knew a year or two later it was going to be middle of the pack, and that's where it is. And they can get out of it after this year. But here's the dilemma I think Dable and Shane are in. If you go out there and, Giants fans always say, well, it can't get worse. Oh, hell yeah, it can. It can get a lot worse. It can get a lot worse. If you remember the Mike Glennon and then that other guy who from Georgia, I can't even think of his name. I mean, it got really ugly there for Judge. And Drew Lock was terrible in the preseason. I don't know what you're expecting from him when he comes in. I do like DeVito. I do like him. But the thing is, if you play those guys and you go 3-14, John Mara is going to have to maybe come back on what he said, right? Because it's just the fans, the stadium's going to be filled with opposing fans, which he hates. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure that they're going to come back from the bye week and say, Drew Lock's our quarterback. I don't know that that's going to happen. I think people are speculating it is, but I wouldn't bet all my money on it.
Okay. Well, there's $23 million guaranteed to Daniel Jones next season if he suffers a season-ending injury. So that's why people are going, well, you can't
I understand the financial
in there. Let me ask you about Bills and Chiefs today, because the Bills just iced an important win for them in the playoff race, gives them the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. Chiefs now have one loss. Bills have two. In terms of January, does today change at all your opinion of whether the Bills can beat the Chiefs when it matters in the postseason?
Not really. I still think it'll somehow end up having to come through Arrowhead. But again, the Chiefs are going to get healthy, right? Hollywood Brown may be available. They're getting Pacheco back. Hopkins is starting to, find his way in that offense. They're battle tested. They're ready for the playoffs. I don't know. I've always liked the Bills. Again, it's going to probably come down to those two teams. But again, we saw a hell of a game today between Pittsburgh and Baltimore too. So I kind of like the AFC side. I mean, the NFC is a little weak, if you're asking me.
Yeah, it certainly feels like there's the Lions and then everybody else in the NFC.
Sure.
I don't know who gives the Lions a run. We thought that maybe Christian McCaffrey comes back for the Niners and they could be a problem, but they choked today against the Seahawks. Who's the second best team of the NFC? Who's going to give the Lions a playoff game?
I mean, is it the Vikings or Packers? I mean, the Packers win on a blocked field goal today in Chicago. I would liken maybe the Packers. I do like the Packers. The Vikings, But again, the Detroit Lions look really good, really good.
They have everything. And now they're like throttling teams when they want to really bludgeon you.
They're getting coaches fired. I would assume that Doug Peterson's gone tomorrow.
Yeah. That's right. You're good when you're just getting coaches fired week by week basis. So in terms of the Bills, Josh Allen has this amazing run to ice the game, and he's limited the turnovers this year. What have you seen at Josh Allen in terms of maybe how he's developed or evolved a little bit coming into this season?
Oh man, he's just a hell of a player. He just, he's a winner. It was interesting when they got rid of Diggs. I mean, I thought that kind of freed him up a little bit to kind of, spread the ball around. I felt like Diggs always wanted the ball, and it maybe kind of caused a little bit of rift between those two guys. But I really like kind of this team. They spread it around. They throw it good. They got good tight ends. They got a good back. The defense was a little bit of a question early in the year, but they're coming along. I mean, I think it's going to come down to, three teams. I still like the Ravens. I somehow still like the Bengals. I mean, this is a team that may come out of it here in November, December with, 8, 9, 10 wins and sneak in. The Bengals could be dangerous, obviously, with T. Higgins.
Tell me your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers, because today he takes a sack in the final play of the game. This is 3 or 4 games that come down to either him throwing an interception or taking a sack in the final play, as the Jets season is now really done because they've got 8 losses. But how did it go so wrong this season for the Jets?
I mean, anytime you fire a coach, right, it's just never good. And obviously Coach Salah was not necessarily the issue there, but whatever happened. And the Jets have just been dysfunctional for a long time, it seems like. Again, they're another team in New York who has a lot of good players, but it doesn't always work that way. I mean, the 2 Super Bowl teams we were on, I think we had 1 Pro Bowler, the first one, and 2, maybe 2, the second one. So it's not necessarily all about just having great players. You got to have great chemistry and camaraderie and a great locker room. And I'm not in those buildings, but it doesn't seem like they're all in harmony, right? There's just, they've actually gotten worse since they got rid of Coach Salah. So I don't know. I don't know what this says about Aaron Rodgers or what it doesn't, but he does look a little bit older, not as nimble, obviously, coming off the Achilles. But just as a franchise, I mean, and I'm not banging on the Jets because the Giants aren't much better. Those 2 franchises have really struggled, man, in the last decade.
I think, though, that the issue with the Jets is, how do you cater to Aaron Rodgers every whim and then watch him play like this? He wants Nathaniel Hackett as his play caller. He obviously cleared, at the very least, Robert Saleh getting fired. He wants Avante Adams. Yeah. He wanted Cobb. He wants Lazard. How you let him go to Egypt during OTAs? How can you cater to everything he wants to do and then watch him play like garbage?
Well, let's just say that Aaron Rodgers is not going to be a general manager in the future. Some of his roster picks. I don't know what's going on over there. It does seem like he has a lot to say, just, from the outside looking in. He has not played well. Listen, they got a pretty good backup. Tyrod Taylor can play. So, you'll never see him just because, right? But again, they lost a game today, and I wouldn't necessarily put that all on the offense. They had a pretty slow start to the day. But again, it's the defense who gives up the big plays at the end of the game today to let Indy score against a guy who was actually benched 2 weeks ago. So that defense, none of it's been good since Coach Salah left, especially the defense. I mean, that used to kind of be where they hung their hat. And the Jets just, don't do anything well.
The Packers today get the win on the blocked field goal on the final play of the game.
Mhm.
Packers said that they had noticed trajectory of the Bears kicking team was low. So they knew they had a chance at blocking a field goal. Ended up happening. Take me back to your process, how you make sure you've got air under it, you've got lift, and something like that doesn't happen. Is that controllable?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But, Cairo is a smaller guy. He's had a fantastic career. Cairo Santos, to do what he's done in Chicago is very respectable. Like, he's had a great, great career. Cairo has always hit the ball low. I mean, if you watch any other kicker on Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, whatever the hell else days we play on, yeah, Cairo is one of the lower ball hitters, if you will, in the league. Doesn't make him any less effective, but he is susceptible to blocks. And, kudos to Rich Bisaccia, the great, great special teams coordinator for the Packers, to kind of dial up a block there and you get their hands up. But yeah, I mean, it's, Cairo's a great kicker, but again, he just doesn't hit the ball as high as most guys. I always had pretty good trajectory. It was never an issue with me. I think I have 2 or 3 blocks in my entire career, but yeah, that's just one thing that Cairo does. He just kind of hits the ball a little low.
Did you watch the Tyson fight?
Oh my God, begrudgingly. I tried. Netflix, just like everybody, 47,000 refreshes. And then I went to Twitter and I found some Twitter handle. Some guy was streaming it. Did the 60 million, did they count all the streamers too? Like, because the guy I was watching it through had like 5 million people on his Twitter watching it. I believe Antonio Brown's, I was watching his for a second. I mean, he had like 5 million. I'm in there with my kids and all their buddies. We're all on our phones. We're all at different times in the fight. So it's just, the whole thing was a mess. Then I saw Tyson's ass, which just ruined my night. Oh, geez. God bless him. You got to appreciate Jake Paul, what he can do. Listen, you guys can hate him, but the man knows how to make money. I mean, and he took care of Tyson. I felt like he took care of Tyson in the ring. Do you? I mean, he's a big, strong guy. He could have really, done some damage. But after like 3 rounds, I think the guy's stream I was watching froze, and I did not go back and watch the next 5 rounds. So I did not get on the internet and say, "Oh my God, where's the next 5?" So I just, waited for the result.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything. The first 2 rounds, there was kind of a flurry of action. But as soon as we hit the 3rd round, beyond that, Tyson had nothing left. He couldn't move. Yeah. His legs were stiff. He took some punches.
I mean,
exactly.
People saw these training videos this week and were like, "Oh, where was that?" I'm like, he's 58. Like, training is training. I'll tell you what, the 2 women got after it the fight before.
Yeah.
That was a nice fight. I did watch that one in its entirety, but was not able to finish the Tyson Paul. What a world we live in. 60 million, whether you believe it or not, from Netflix. They better get that fixed before the Chiefs play the Raiders.
Well, no kidding. Like, these streaming services want to jump in with the big boys. Okay, fine. You're going to pay the money to get the games. Yeah. You better produce them properly. And part of the issue with Netflix, the biggest issue was just how do you not handle the demand of your viewership when you set up a massive event like that? You have to predict who's going to, but also the broadcast itself was so stupid. We got Rosie Perez doing boxing commentary. We have Cedric the Entertainer on the set constantly. I mean, these are our boxing analysts. Like, if you do Netflix and you want to do a football game, I better not see Will Ferrell giving me halftime, analysis. So it pisses me off that Netflix and the other streaming services, don't really kind of know what they're doing, and they're getting these good games.
And Roy Jones, he just didn't like anything. He didn't like Roy Jones was just like, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like this. Did you like anything about the fight, Roy? But overall, it was just kind of a mess, right? But I can't imagine 60 million people are tuning in to watch Chiefs Raiders, but crazier things have happened, right? I mean, a lot of people do watch football with their families on the holidays. Excuse me. So I would venture there's going to be somewhere around the 20 million, but if anything, I'm sure Netflix learned they need to do something differently in terms of servers or whatever happened. I'm
so
shocked
exciting.
that 60 million people tuned in.
I know it's a massive number, but I mean, it was like we
Yeah,
found out that America loves boxing still. It's just that we have no good reasons to watch boxing, and a 58-year-old Mike Tyson against a hateable YouTube star is enough to get us to watch.
it is. And Jake Paul's a genius. I mean, you can say what you want about him, but he knows how to make a dollar.
He sure does. Hey, if the Chiefs finally win a Super Bowl again this year and they go 3 straight, do we consider them the greatest football team ever? That would be something nobody's ever done, 3 straight Super Bowl wins.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to, right? If it's never been done. People talk to, I live in Kansas City, so have the privilege of, playing a lot of golf with the coaching staff out at my golf club. So I know a lot of the coaches, and
Nice.
obviously you have Mahomes, you got some great players, but man, they have an elite coaching staff. Like, it's elite.
Yep.
They've got, from obviously Andy Reid, you go to Spags, you got Dave Merritt, both on our staff with the Giants. Dave Merritt's going to be a D coordinator or a head coach or something soon. I don't know if Spags wants to continue coaching and being a head coaching role, but he's obviously the best defensive coordinator there's ever been. Matt Nagy, you've got Dave Tobe, the best special teams coach in the league. They're just well coached. I mean, do you really fear any of their individual pieces? I mean, outside of Mahomes? I mean, you just don't, right? Like, there's not, like, Kelsey's good, but overall, they just defensively, they're really good. People are sleeping on their defense because they are the number 1 or 2 ranked defense in the league, because the offense has not been great this year, but they just are well coached. They're a great football team. They don't make a lot of mistakes. But yeah, long-winded answer. They're probably the best team in NFL history over a 3-year period.
If they win it. Now, if they lose in the AFC title game or something, they'll be right back next year, very, very good. But there's a lot of football left. But if they do something nobody's ever done before, they got to be put in that conversation. For joining us here on the show, Lawrence Tynes, I am sending you a bottle of Santo Blanco tequila. Santo has been an amazing sponsor. Salud. Santo's been an amazing sponsor for us. It is Guy Fieri and Sammy Hagar's signature tequila. It is delicious.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's awesome. It really is awesome. And so share it with Amanda and your friends. And
not the boys yet. They're only 17.
No, not the boys yet. Not the boys yet. Not the boys. Cool. But we got the holidays are coming up, so you can share it with your friends and family.
I'll need it after most Giants games. So.
Very good. LT, thanks for jumping on with me today, man. Appreciate it.
Great seeing you. Appreciate you.
Okay, brother.
Thank you.
See you. All right. Lawrence Tynes joining us here on the show. Awesome.